Katie Walker. I'm the director of the Office of Research and Innovation at MnDOT. And I think we have an engaging session for you today. And I want to thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend this webinar and learn a little more about our research program and how you can become involved and engaged in research at MnDOT. Next slide, please. Thank you. Our agenda for today, a few of the things we're going to be talking about is we want to give you some more background on who we are at Research and Innovation, what we do, what projects we work on. We'll talk a little bit about why research is important for MnDOT in terms of achieving our mission and vision of the organization. We'll talk a little bit more about what are some of the research topics that we fund research for. We'll inform you about the research cycle, when to get involved, how to get involved, where ideas go. We'll also talk about some of our new projects that are on the horizon that you would have an opportunity to potentially get involved with. And then what are some methods for you to get informed, stay informed, and be engaged with research. In terms of broadly what we do in the Office of Research and Innovation, we have a section that focuses on research development and management. So that is moving ideas for research all the way through the process of selecting ideas, preparing the management plans for those, and taking it all the way through the development process. We also have a section that is focused on innovation support and development. That is underway. We are developing an innovation program for MnDOT, so you will hear more about that in the future. And then a final section that we have is our library and information services. So if you have a question about transportation, you can contact our library staff who will do research for you. They also will do literature reviews for you, and they also have recently launched a cloud-based platform for checking out library materials. So that is one of the new innovative things that our library staff are doing. And with that, I think we're going to launch into a video that provides some more overview on the Office of Research and Innovation and how we serve MnDOT.
MnDOT's Office of Research and Innovation is your one-stop shop for transportation research and information. Located on the first floor of MnDOT's central office, our research program and library staff can help you stay up to date in your field and guide you through the research development process, from idea generation to implementation. Our staff can help find you funding for research, pilot new technologies, and share your findings. With a $9 million annual operating budget, our office manages close to 200 state, local, and federal projects each year on cutting-edge topics, such as finding new methods to inspect bridges and testing more durable, cost-effective materials for our roadways. 5 strategic priorities guide our work: innovation and future needs, advancing equity, asset management, safety, and climate change and the environment. Earlier this year, our program was elevated from a section to an office to better reflect the breadth of research being done throughout MnDOT and spur more innovation. Contact us today for help and stay in the know by subscribing to our research program and library newsletters. MnDOT's Office of Research and Innovation, informing, improving, and innovating transportation in Minnesota.
Thank you, Katie. I'm Beth Clayman, a research project development engineer in the Office of Research and Innovation. I also manage the MnDOT Research Steering Committee. So why does research matter? Research helps MnDOT find ways to do our jobs better. As an agency, we have a big job to do and not enough resources. In many ways, research is an investment, but it's also vital to getting the most out of our investments. We have research projects that impact all aspects of MnDOT. We did a project that investigated how to minimize the potential for bridge construction to impact bats that often roost in the structure. Another project is evaluating fencing to reduce the mortality of small animals. And that's also a safety issue to drivers because swerving to avoid a turtle can cause a crash. As we learn more and more about how road salt impacts our waterways, we are looking at different chemicals to keep our roads safe in winter. As you can see, it's more than just studying pavement, but of course, we have to do that too. In this next video, we will share with you one of our research projects, which has won state and federal innovation awards for how it's saving MnDOT time and money while also making roads safer during bridge repairs.
Within the state, we do have a drive to innovate, and we look for ways to be cost effective, ways that we can do things quicker for the traveling public, and bring better quality to the work that we do.
When you look at the statewide inventory of bridges, there are a lot of bridges that are in need of repair. There are a lot of bridges that were built in the 1960s during the interstate era. We don't always have the funds to replace every bridge, so we have to really look at all the available options to repair our bridges and extend their service life.
We did have a construction project to repair a deterioration in the bridge. Some of those beams were in worse condition than anticipated, and it forced us to rethink the solution. And we did come upon a Michigan report where they had similar situations, albeit as a very smaller scale than what we were experiencing. And we decided to extrapolate that small repair to our situation. This technique is to build a supplemental reinforcing cage and then the concrete to encase those bars and make it work with the beam is placed by shotcrete. It's put into a hopper and fed through a hose, and the water gets added at the hose.
Paul saw this detail that was used by other states, but there was really no testing that was done to show that it really worked.
This first project that used this innovative technique was on Highway 169 over 9 Mile Creek.
It's kind of an ideal situation because we had a bridge that we knew was going to come out of service, but we just had to bridge that gap between now and when we can actually replace it.
The only alternative to this repair would have been to detour traffic from the bridge, cut out a portion of this deck, and take out that beam and put a new beam in and cast a new concrete deck. That would have taken 30 times the cost and lasted at least at a minimum 3 weeks of construction time.
If we have even 2 of these a year, we're going to save $3 million.
One way that we used to validate our design assumptions for this repair was to take a repaired beam as well as an original beam that had very little deterioration, and those beams were then tested side by side at the laboratory at the University of Minnesota.
It was very satisfying to see that the repair performed as good or better than beams that were in good condition.
I do look for this being used throughout the country, and Paul has been very willing to share this with others, and that's really important for us too.
MnDOT's research is guided by 5 strategic priorities: advancing equity, asset management, climate change and environment, innovation and future needs, and safety. We aim to advance MnDOT's mission through all of our work. Research projects can fit one or even all of these important focus areas. Now we're going to get into some of the nuts and bolts of how our research program runs and how we can help you. At any given time, MnDOT is engaged in around 190 research projects just in the Office of Research and Innovation. We administer each project throughout its life cycle from idea to implementation. Last year, 819 people throughout the state were involved to help steer and develop these projects. Projects have a life cycle from idea to conducting the research to implementation. In fact, we are gathering ideas right now, and we'll talk more about that later, but anyone can submit an idea. Next, I'm going to present some of the categories of research our office manages. Bridge research is just one area where MnDOT is improving safety and saving money. We are investing in research in all areas of our business, from better ways to repair bridges to the use of drones to inspect them. Bridges and structures are an important part of our transportation system. MnDOT has responsibility to reduce our environmental footprint. Research projects evaluate methods to protect animals from turtles and snakes to bats and deer. We seek to understand how runoff impacts lakes and streams so we can change our processes and protect our waters, including the 10,000 lakes of Minnesota. Improving maintenance operations is important to keep our roads safe in the winter and also manage the chemicals and sand we use, which can impact our lakes and rivers. Research projects look to understand that impact and make changes that will protect our waters while still keeping the road users safe. Maintenance is also about preserving the infrastructure to maximize the lifespan and get the most from the investment of our transportation dollars. Building longer lasting roads and more cost-effective construction practices are the types of projects that fall into the category of materials and construction. These projects investigate better material specifications and construction methods. Creating a transportation system that accommodates all road users is important. MnDOT is part of the evolution toward considering the entire transportation system. It's not just the cars and trucks anymore, but also the pedestrians and bicyclists and even the electric scooters, each with their own unique benefits and requirements. We use research to inform our policies and decisions. As a state agency, we certainly have more than a few policies and plans. What we do today is not the same as what we did 20 years ago, and it will be different still 20 years in the future. These research projects help us get to that future. Traffic and safety is another category, and safety is not just about traffic. It matters to all road users. We also have projects that look at how to better protect our construction workers. To accomplish these priorities, we fund research through 4 funding programs. First, I will talk about our academic research solicitation. This is the annual research cycle many of you are familiar with. We release an RFP in late July to our partner universities, which are located not just within Minnesota. Many are in the Midwest and others are across the country. We want to have access to top-notch researchers across the country. We currently have 16 universities on our qualified universities list. These schools are pre-approved to submit proposals for funding. Additionally, we work with dozens of consultants on non-academic research implementation projects. Oftentimes, research requires additional work to implement. These research implementation projects help take research into the real world. 2 additional research programs are the multi-state pooled fund research, which is administered by the Federal Highway Administration, and transportation research syntheses. In pooled funds, states work together and share funding for larger research questions that are of interest to everyone. These can be about a specific problem. Sometimes pooled funds function as a research program of their own. The Clear Roads Pooled Fund is all things winter maintenance with over 35 states participating. Transportation research syntheses are a way to learn more about a problem and can be especially valuable before initiating a research project. TRSs can be a literature review or a survey of practice or both to help you learn what you don't know. Research and Innovation administers 2 governing boards. The MnDOT Research Steering Committee makes funding decisions for MnDOT research projects, as well as MnDOT's involvement in those multi-state pooled fund projects. The Minnesota Local Road Research Board directs and funds city and county research through a special apportionment of city and county state aid highway funds. These boards work separately but collaboratively, and we often jointly fund research that serves the needs of both MnDOT and the cities and counties. The Office of Research and Innovation isn't the only research game at MnDOT. There is research occurring in other parts of the organization as well. The Office of Connected and Automated Vehicles, known as CAVEX, has its own research program called the CAVEX Challenge. The Office of Maintenance operates the Maintenance Operations Research Program. Office of Materials and Road Research also runs MnRoad, a pavement test track along I-94 near Albertville, which is relatively unique in the entire country. The Office of Traffic Engineering conducts safety research and evaluates techniques to keep our roads safe. We will quickly review our timeline for identifying and funding research ideas. This timeline shows how many ideas were submitted and funded in 2020. From over 100 ideas in March, the MnDOT Research Steering Committee and the Local Road Research Board selected 22 ideas that were developed into need statements, which were released in our annual request for proposals in late July. In mid-September, we received 79 proposals. After technical review and decisions by both committees, 26 projects were funded, 10 by MnDOT, 6 by LRB, and 10 were jointly funded. Now, Shannon is going to help you understand how to get involved in our research projects.
Thanks, Beth. Hi, my name is Shannon Fiki, and I oversee technology transfer and communications related activities for our office. As Beth mentioned, we have this annual cycle where we select academic research ideas, and we just funded projects for this current year. We're now at the point in our cycle where we're looking at projects for next year. So until March 15th, you have an opportunity to submit any ideas that you have for research needs in your area. To get to the website called IdeaScale, where we collect these ideas, just go to our homepage, mndot.gov/research, and select the Submit an Idea button on the right side of the page. We don't need a huge paper on what your idea is. We just need a good summary. And then the governing boards will look at all those ideas and shortlist which ones we like to move forward for a more robust need statement for the RFP. It's important to mention that we use this website to also collect ideas throughout the year, things that you might have interest in for research implementation, like if you want to test some new equipment, try a new process in your area, you can submit an idea at any point for that. And we also accept off-cycle research requests for things that are more urgent that can't wait for our annual RFP. So if you have something that you think isn't ready for this RFP, but you have an idea, put your idea in the hopper or reach out to one of our staff. Next, I'm going to talk about some of the newly funded research projects that are just kicking off over these next few months. These are projects that, for many of them, you could still be involved with them on the advisory panels. So this first project I'm going to talk about is a project that's going to test autonomous vehicles on Minnesota roadways. The University of Minnesota has a vehicle that they just purchased for this purpose. And we're going to be looking at gathering Minnesota-specific data on how AV vehicles perform on our roads, what the implications might be for our winter road maintenance, our work zone guidelines, road safety, and also traffic capacity on our highways. This project is being sponsored by the CAVX office. As Beth mentioned, they do some of their own projects as well, but this is kind of a bigger project. And so that's why they are getting funds through our program. Next slide, please. So this next project is going to look at new products that are available for pavement markings and colored pavement. And the purpose is to evaluate how these new products might reduce the difference in friction between regular pavement and infrastructure like bike lanes or crosswalks. The purpose is to see if we can reduce that friction a little bit and make it safer for pedestrians as well as bicyclists and motorcyclists. So this project is being championed by the Office of Traffic Engineering. The next project is going to look at right turn lanes and the safety impacts for pedestrians. It's pretty well known that right turn lanes help make traffic more efficient, move vehicles through more readily, and it also helps reduce motor vehicle crashes. However, it hasn't been as well studied what the impact might be for pedestrians. And so that's what this project is going to do. And it's also going to help engineers evaluate the benefits as well as potentially some drawbacks for pedestrian safety and kind of decide what the best solution is for a particular area. This project is being championed by Ramsey County, and it's being funded by both MnDOT and the LRB. And the next project, this is actually a research implementation project where we're going to be testing some new equipment. As Beth mentioned earlier, that's one of our programs that we have available to you. It's being championed by the Metro District Operations and Maintenance. And what they've asked to do is to use an infrared camera test it along the highways where there are encampments. They want to be able to sense whether there's human presence in those encampments when they come through to do work. Right now, when they approach these encampments, people don't always respond when they ask them, if there's anybody there. And so it's really important for them to know, if there are people in the tents. Additionally, they're interested in using these infrared cameras in mowing operations, be able to sense if there's people, in the high grasses, or if perhaps there's hidden objects like propane tanks, which of course would be very dangerous for workers. And so that's what this project is going to do, evaluate that and see how successful it is, and be able to detect objects or people. And the next project, this is the final one I'm going to talk about today. They're going to look at the travel patterns and needs of people based on their gender or gender identity to make sure that we're serving all road users. In the past, there's been a lot of study on what the needs are for your traditional, 8 to 5 business patterns of travel. But this project's going to look at, other needs. People are using transportation, whether that be the roads or public transit, for shopping, for getting their kids to school. And so it's going to really look at the specific needs of make sure that we're looking at all road users and all transit users. This project is championed by the Office of Transportation System Management. So these 5 projects I just highlighted are just a few of the many that were funded in this last cycle through the RFP process. So there's a lot of other projects that you might be interested in getting involved in, either as a TAP member or just following the project. So to look at all the projects that were funded, there's a list along with links to more information that is available at MnDOT.gov/research/awards. All right, so you've heard about these great projects. What does it mean to get involved on a technical advisory panel? Well, each of our research project is governed by one of these panels. They helped give the researcher direction on what they need to do to make sure that they're meeting the needs of MnDOT in the research that they're conducting. They also help participate in meetings with these researchers. They provide some technical assistance and expertise where researchers maybe don't have all the information they need. And they also help review deliverables that are being produced out of the project. So if you are considering joining, what are some of the advantages? Well, it's an opportunity to network with other practitioners, both in your immediate field of interest and also in other areas. A lot of folks that serve on these panels say that being on the panel is actually just as informative and educational as the final product that they produce, just because of the amount of interaction that you get with your peers. It's an opportunity to contribute to some cutting edge research. MnDOT is one of the national leaders. A lot of the stuff we do here is copied by other states, and so that's a pretty exciting opportunity to help, change practices. It's an opportunity to grow in your field, and of course, it's an opportunity to build your resume for future job opportunities. So you might be thinking about what's the time commitment, how much do you have to give up? These research projects often last 1 to 3 years. A typical project might have 4 to 6 meetings over the life of the project. Some of those might be done virtually. Your other responsibilities will include reviewing the work plan for contracting, reviewing all the final report and other deliverables that the project produces. That might be, a special tool or a spreadsheet that is being used for some process, as well as that final report. So if you're interested in getting involved in a technical advisory panel for one of these recently funded projects, or you'd like your name considered for future projects that might occur in your area of interest, I encourage you to email David Glyer. His email address is there on the screen. Just give him your name, where you work, short description of your qualifications and why you're interested in that project. Also maybe include resume or LinkedIn profile, and he'll give that information to each of the technical leads for these projects so they can use it in making sure that they're forming a well-rounded technical advisory panel. Now, if you aren't chosen for the panel, how else can you stay involved or aware of what's going on with those projects? We have a subscription service where you'll be alerted anytime there's a new final report published or any other materials for that project. To get to those subscription alerts, go to MnDOT.gov/research and select the Search Projects tab on the top of the page. There you'll be able to see all the active projects that are currently going on, as well as our completed projects. And for any of our active projects, just click on the link to that project. You'll see the project description, and there'll be a little button at the top of the top of the webpage, it says subscribe for updates. Just click on that, give us your name and email address, and we'll sign you up for these alerts. So what are some other ways that you can stay informed in all the research activities going on at MnDOT? Well, we have an e-newsletter. We also have social media channels, including LinkedIn, which is a great opportunity for you to also share the content for your peers. We also have a transportation research blog that is actually followed kind of throughout the country, as well as by news media. So these are all great ways that you could stay to kind of keep tabs on what's going on. Generally, they all share the same content. So, choose what one fits your needs best. After this webinar is completed, Michaela will be sending out an email with links to all those services. Otherwise, you can just go to our homepage, MnDOT.gov/research, and there's buttons there to subscribe to all these services. So now we're going to take your questions. Dave is going to kick us off. Thank you.